This bar chart visualizes a recent Pew Research survey, and it reveals a striking shift in public opinion. 4 in 10 Americans now state that a 4-year college degree is either not too important or not at all important for securing a well-paying job. That skepticism aligns with recent macroeconomic realities. Since 2014, the median earnings for young workers without a bachelor's degree have steadily climbed. Their overall wealth has increased, and poverty rates within this demographic have declined. Into this shifting economic landscape arrives a highly disruptive variable: generative artificial intelligence. These models can instantaneously synthesize data, write essays, and perform the exact cognitive tasks that schools have traditionally evaluated. We currently rely on a slow, deeply expensive human credentialing pipeline, yet these new systems output free, immediate results, regularly passing the same standardized exams we use to measure human capability. The collision of these facts presents a serious structural problem. If an algorithm can effortlessly execute the required coursework, and the public already doubts the economic premium of the degree, we have to ask if the institution of higher education is facing functional obsolescence. To answer that, we cannot look at individual test scores or isolated classrooms. We have to zoom out and examine education for what it truly is: a macro-social machine engineered to sustain modern society. Structural functionalism treats society as a complex, living organism with absolute survival needs. For this organism to avoid collapse, it must fulfill 3 core requirements. It must socialize its young, maintain predictable social control, and efficiently manage its economic resources. The educational system is the heavily funded structural organ that evolved specifically to meet those exact requirements. To understand how artificial intelligence threatens this system, we first need to map how this institutional machinery operated historically. Sociologist Robert K. Merton categorized institutional actions into distinct types. The first are manifest functions, the recognized, deliberate, and officially sanctioned objectives of an institution. The most obvious manifest function is cultural transmission. This image of a professor lecturing to a crowded hall illustrates the explicit transfer of shared historical narratives and democratic beliefs, bridging the gap between the private family unit and the broader civic world. The second objective is the formation of human capital. Time spent acquiring hard skills, from algebra to engineering, is treated as a direct investment in a nation's technological innovation and economic competitiveness. Finally, schools operate as a meritocratic sorting mechanism. Through continuous assessment, the system is designed to funnel the most capable and hard-working individuals into society's most demanding occupational roles. Teaching shared culture, training hard skills, and sorting human talent are the officially stated reasons taxpayers fund universal schooling. But schools also generate latent functions. These are the unintended, unrecognized, yet highly significant consequences that silently uphold societal equilibrium. Consider the modern economy. Millions of adults can participate in the standard 9-to-5 wage labor market because public education serves as a massive, state-subsidized childcare infrastructure. It is the silent anchor that allows dual-income households to function. Then there is the hidden curriculum. This historical photograph of a factory assembly line mirrors the regimented structure of the modern classroom. Schools implicitly teach obedience to authority, strict punctuality, and adherence to ringing bells, socializing children into the hierarchical structures of the industrial workplace. High schools and universities also group thousands of peers by age and socioeconomic status. This inadvertently turns campuses into highly concentrated demographic hubs, facilitating a sort of mating and forging lifelong professional networks. Even as students retained zero academic knowledge, these hidden social and economic gears are so vital that without them, the architecture of the modern state would buckle. Following the Second World War, the American educational system abandoned holistic, whole-person development. The institution pivoted sharply toward producing a massive, technologically capable workforce to compete on a global scale. This mandated a systemic obsession with quantifiable output. As seen in the rigid posture of these students taking an exam, the institution began prioritizing extrinsic measures, standardized test scores, and grade point averages as the sole metrics of human capability. When an institution becomes overly rigid or strays from its core purpose, it generates what Merton called dysfunctions, disruptive processes that threaten systemic balance. The primary dysfunction of modern schooling is credentialism. The system now relies almost entirely on academic degrees as a proxy for intelligence, effectively confusing the paper certificate with the actual ability to perform a job. This post-war evolution transformed the educational institution into a rigid sorting machine, optimized for a mid-century industrial era that no longer exists. This sorting mechanism frequently fails hard-working students from lower-income backgrounds. Sociologist Pierre Bourdieu diagnosed this flaw using the concept of cultural capital. The institution operates on a baseline assumption that every student arrives with the specific vocabulary, behaviors, and tastes of the dominant middle and upper classes. If you lack this implicit cultural knowledge, the system penalizes you. Instead of a true meritocracy, the result is the social reproduction of inequality. The educational machine actively maintains existing class hierarchies, rewarding those who already possess the dominant culture. This 40% skepticism rate reflects a broader realization that the system's primary promise, objective meritocratic sorting, is no longer reliably delivering the predicted economic return. Long before artificial intelligence arrived, the educational machine was already fractured by structural inequality and a declining trust in its explicit goals. Commercial generative AI acts as a significant external stressor, arriving when the institution's core manifest functions are already under severe strain. These algorithms perfectly automate the system's extrinsic measures. They pass standardized tests, generate essays, and perform rote tasks, driving the meritocratic sorting process. As noted in recent UNESCO research, large language models are rapidly becoming experts across various domains. The very infrastructure of knowing has changed, and raw knowledge itself has become a cheap commodity. This exposes a fatal institutional flaw. If a university's value proposition is limited to teaching commodified knowledge in exchange for a paper credential, an algorithm renders that model functionally obsolete. Artificial intelligence accelerates the death of the post-war model of rote memorization and credentialism. To survive this era, the educational institution must pivot. It must move beyond easily automated manifest functions and lean into distinctly human, unautomatable latent functions. The new vital currency of this era is human agency. It is the embedded capability to actively participate in the real world and affect change. Classrooms must transition into arenas for complex social interaction, philosophical debate, and undetermined personal development. This shift realigns education with its Enlightenment purpose, generating members of society who can competently participate in social, cultural, and economic life. The true value of education no longer involves competing with machines on data processing. It lies in cultivating the agency required to govern them.